Ernie got a new bed for his crate today, and as soon as we put it in, he went in and he stayed there. I think he likes a little touch of luxury.
Hello, my friends. It's been a wonderful day. Isn't it something how one beautiful day can be so huge in changing an attitude or an energy or an emotion? It got up into the middle 60s today. England, it even got warmer than that, but we had some ocean breeze, and so it kept our temperatures down. Ernie and I tried to set a record on how far we were going to walk. I actually wore out my dog. He got tired before I did. It's something. You've seen the videos I've shared where he goes bebopping off in front of me with his little wiggle. Well, he was walking very slow towards the end of our walk today. So I don't know if I have to leave the little guy home when I go for a longer walk or not, but it was good for me. I'm walking better. And I gotta tell you the truth, one of the reasons is a couple of you had sent me a question about what I'm doing about my health. And basically I'm doing the right things. Exercise, and at least for a while drastically reducing what I'm eating. I'm one of those people that doesn't lose weight no matter how much I exercise at 1,000 calories. So I have to go a bit low. So the thing is then to find things to eat that make you feel full at 700 calories. Not always easy. But I know this about me. It's not an excuse not to diet, saying, oh, I can't do that. Well, you know what? That's what my metabolism's always been like. I've always been a big person, and I've always had that kind of metabolism. So what I'm basically doing is I eat yogurt and granola and fruit for breakfast. And then late in the afternoon, so before a real dinner time and long after what would be a lunchtime, I eat a salad. And the salads are big, and they vary. If we're out, of course, they can get pretty exotic. Like we went to a diner this past week, and I got a crab meat salad. Oh, I think I could eat that every night. And then today we went out, and I got a roasted vegetable salad, which I'm going to go back there and get lots. It is marinated and then roasted vegetables, which include spinach, has the greens in them. So there is no raw vegetable in it. They are cooked. And I could just have buried myself in that bowl. See, this is the weird thing about me. I like stuff that's good for me. And I give way to temptation for things that I eat that taste good in the moment, but which actually don't satisfy me as much. And I know this about myself. Well, I started taking better care of myself probably middle of March and settled down to a pattern of exercise, which is walking, no big deal, but walking, and modified what I was eating. And in honesty, I've lost in 3 weeks 10 pounds. And I actually can feel the difference. Some of this is going away, which is so welcome. I've never been somebody who thought I would do plastic surgery. But this thing under here drives me crazy. So I don't wobble as much under my chin. I am a happy woman. So basically it's the exercise combined with a drastic reduction in calories. It gets challenging because you can't go indefinitely on 700 calories a day and know you're getting the right balance and what you need for health. But once I would lose enough to shift my metabolism upward, I would adjust the calories that I'm eating. Now, I'm not tracking calories, don't get me wrong. I'm not a calorie tracker. I know what's good and healthy to eat and what's not. And I'm not a scale person usually. However, I'm not allowing at the moment myself to say, oh, I'll weigh myself once a month, which I think is a really good thing. You can get too conscious of the number on the scale, but right now, I need to know that number, so I am not rationalizing myself into anything which is destructive of a healthy pattern. And the scale reminds me rather quickly if I am not doing what I should be doing. So that's how I'm handling a little shift in just what I'm doing. There is meat protein probably in half of the salads that I'm eating. One of the challenges I have is I can't eat a lot raw too many days in a row, or I have internal problems. I've had that problem since I was a kid, 12 or 13 years old. So like that salad I got today, it was just perfect, absolutely perfect. It was really, really yummers. So that answers the questions. I should have put an Ask Annie on that. So here's an after the fact Ask Annie. There we go. Because I had several of you ask me, well, what the heck are you doing? You've mentioned it. What are you doing? So, wonderful day today. And then a really worthwhile trip to church yesterday. And it wasn't even, it was one of us that did the sermon yesterday. And I used to do that too. I was on the worship committee at my old church, and that can be really successful. It can be as effective, sometimes even more so than your minister's sermons. Or it can be an absolute disaster. There's a knack to doing a sermon. Well, I have to say that my friend Jean, who did it yesterday, has a knack for a sermon. The title of the... I've got it in front of me. Reflections on Gratitude was the title of the sermon. And she started out with a quote from Marcus Aurelius. And that quote is, mind you, the subject of the sermon was Reflections on Gratitude. And that quote is, "Think of all the years passed by in which you said to yourself, I'll do it tomorrow, and how the gods have again and again granted you periods of grace of which you have not availed yourself. It is time to realize that you are a member of the universe, that you are born of nature, and to know that a limit has been set to your time. Use every moment wisely to perceive your inner refulgence, or 'twill be gone and nevermore within your reach." Yeah, when I came home, I looked up refulgence. That's certainly a new word for me. It means light, a beacon, a guiding light, a light in the center. So if you listen to that again, use every moment wisely to perceive your inner refulgence, your inner light, or it will be gone and nevermore within your reach. So that quote which you introduced, and if you don't know anything about Marcus Aurelius, you really got to look him up. Fascinating. Ancient philosopher, pantheist, one of the first wave of philosophers and spiritualists who saw the universe itself as being sacred. A lot of us in the pagan community, of course, can relate very much to the sacredness of physical existence. So then she went on to do a few readings about gratitude. And I came to realize as she was doing the sermon that she wasn't, although she did talk about setting yourself up for a state of awareness where you are grateful. And she said, and make it a challenge. She said, yeah, there's people who talk about gratitude journals where they find one thing a day that they're grateful for. She said, stretch it. Find 5 things a day that you're grateful for. Some days I could do that. Other days I have to admit that would be quite the stretch. But what Jean was encouraging us to do is consider, especially in the days when it's a stretch, that it's a matter of awareness. To find out and ponder what you are grateful for. And she said, especially on the challenging days, it usually requires getting outside of ourselves, being aware of what is outside you. Say you have a day that you're struggling. I certainly didn't have that day today, but if I were having that kind of day, in light of the beauty in the walk that I took, in a way stepping away from and out into what's around me, I would find my gratitude in that. So she talked about gratitude is awareness of your life, your place in your life, and also everything that's around you. And she, of course, mentioned that it's a choice. When you are in a situation where you're not finding much of anything to be grateful for, you have to be creative. You have to get outside of yourself if that's necessary, or you have to reflect inward if that's necessary. So she did talk about the importance of finding things to be grateful for and being in a state of gratitude. But the majority of her sermon then was about what then. She could have named this sermon, instead of Reflections on Gratitude, Giving Back from the Place of Gratitude, something she mentioned several times as kind of a mantra ran through the sermon. Giving back from the place of gratitude. I certainly have taken lots of time in my life to celebrate when I'm grateful or thankful. But I haven't often pondered, well, in this place, with this energy, the energetic being I'm at the moment, feeling this, experiencing this, what do I make an offering of the universe to, from this place of gratitude that I'm in? That's what I wanted to share you about that, because it was a new thing for me to ponder. It's just not about being thankful or grateful. It's about what kind of an offering do you make to something wider than you, perhaps. Well, it could be nearby with family and friends, or to the universe as an offering. What do you do with it? What offering do you make from a place of gratitude? The gratitude isn't supposed to be meant to be something that's held close and kind of tightly without releasing it. It's supposed to become an offering. I thought about it on lots of levels. The first thing is, well, I guess I never really thought about it. I guess I experienced gratitude a bit selfishly. That it makes me feel happy and all kinds of emotions that are good that I want to experience. Never thought about offering that to the universe. What might be something like, you're grateful because you've come through a tough time and maybe you want to give back to community in some way. Or you're grateful for the presence of a loved one in your life, and you share that with them and you tell them how grateful you are that they're in your life. She used a little story, and there was a longer story to this that she read to us, but the bottom line was, someone's walking on the beach with a bucket, and they're collecting the seashells they find along the way. And they kept finding yet another really good seashell and adding it to their bucket. And they stopped at one point, and they looked at their bucket, and they realized how full their bucket was with beautiful things. And yet they were always searching for more. And she shared a quote, which I do not know from whom, and I probably will not quote it perfectly. If you believe that you have enough, you will always have more. And if you think that you should always have more, you will never have enough. Is that like way cool? I really, really like that. I really liked everything about. Sometimes you get the most happy or the most grateful or the most thankful when something big happens. And she challenged us to, in considering the 5 things you're grateful for each day, to notice how many of them are because we have enough of something. And I think the day that I had today, I had enough to pay my bills. I had a day in which it was warm enough that I could walk. There were other things that were just enough that I could celebrate today. Sometimes those just enough things are the things we can probably be the most grateful for. Everything that creates gratitude within us is not bombastic, is kind of what she was saying. So I wanted to share that with you. I don't know if any of those concepts would be new to you, but they were new to me and very welcome. I'm trying to do the 5 things I'm grateful for each day. I didn't have any problems today, by the way. I'm not going to share them. This is something that, I share an awful lot here on these vlogs, don't I? But this is something I wanted to hold to myself. But I am challenging myself to spend some time with my journal at the end of every day. And if I'm having a day where, holy Hannah, I just can't think of 5 things. first thing I'm going to do is think of gratitude is not always a surfeit. It is most often, probably, having enough of something. And if I'm stuck, I'm going to look outside of myself in the day. What did I notice that was beautiful? What inspired me? If I have struggle with answering and coming up with the 5 things, I'm going to challenge myself. Take myself to task in a way for my lack of creating that place of gratitude, where the smallest thing could end up that I have a lot more than 5 things on my gratitude list. Especially not looking for the big things. And then, really, the point of her sermon is, what do you do with it then? What do you offer of that? What do you take out into the world? What do you share with family and friends? What of your gratitude is something that then comes out and moves from you? I'd love to know what your thoughts are on that. It was actually a new thought for me. I love it every now and then when it happens. Oh, so what else has been going on in my mind? I am still stuck on that song, I Miss You. That just rocked my heart, rocked my soul. Really stuck on that. And then another thing that happened, and it was triggered by something at church where someone lost a pet this week. They had to have their pet put down. And she stood up at Joys and Concerns, where we don't light a candle in our church. We have a big bowl of shells, and then we take a shell from that into our community bowl when we have to share a joy or a concern. Not something I usually do at church. I can think of, in the 15 years I was at my other church, maybe 4 or 5 times. Something has to be really momentous for me to bring it to the community. I'll reach out for help, or something really amazing happens that I want to celebrate in community. But generally, I'm not someone who likes to get in front of people and share that kind of story. You would know that from these vlogs, though, would you? And anyway, bless her heart, she had a picture of her dog that she held up. And this woman was obviously rocked to soul level at the departure of this animal. It obviously meant a lot to her. And I sat down with my journal. Roger and I have had a discussion about, would we get another dog? It was not as easy for us to get around. With traveling, it limits us. We can't go away from home for a full day. So there's things we can't do. And also we've had the discussions of the grief, the mourning was still in it because of Georgie's passing, that you go through. Do you really want to do that again? Here's my answer. Mabel, Snuffy, Coco, Callie, Baby, Ace, Sammy, Goldie, Bonnie, George, and Emmett. I had to say goodbye to each of those beautiful beasts, some cats and dogs. I wouldn't trade a moment of the time I spent with any of them. And they were all rather long-lived, actually. I wouldn't trade that to give up the suffering, the agony you feel at their passing. So someday I'll be adding Bogey and Ernie to that list. And writing the names of all of them was very cathartic in my journal this morning. I'll tell you another thing. Every now and then something comes up in my life that reminds me I'm not a kid anymore. I'm not 30, 40, or 50, or even 60 anymore. And chanting the length of all of those perfect lives intertwined with mine kind of was like, oh crap, that's how old I am. I've had all these animals. And they've overlapped. They have overlapped. I've always had more than one animal. 2 or 3, actually. That was one of the things I put down on my gratitude list, actually. Even knowing, how heartbreaking it is when you lose a companion. Especially a couple amongst those who are especially soulmates of mine. Roger and I have talked about it, and I think what's going to happen in this house is we will get down to having one dog at a time. And when Ernie and Bogey have passed on, we're going to start taking in older dogs from shelters and rescues. We were talking about feeling like we could give back, and in a way, the sermon triggered this in me. What do you do with your gratitude? How do you give it back? And instead of, I've always had puppies. All these animals I'm talking about were either puppies or kittens, 6 weeks old or so when I got them. I love the babies in the animal world, I guess. A couple of them were rescues. Well, the only ones that ever came from a place that where they were purebred was Ernie and Bogey. All of my other animals have been mutts from various places. And I realized that what Raja had come to as a consideration of rescuing older animals was actually an expression of the gratitude for all of our four-footed family members that passed through all of our lives. And Roger probably has about 6 dogs that were part of his life. So I had a few more animals, but we were still talking the same conversation. You know, the price you pay for this sadness and the grieving when they're gone. In the bigger picture, you release that to the absolute joy of having had them as part of your life. And there's some things I wanted to mention. So today we went, first I have pictures from Ernie and I's walk around the neighborhood. It was a beautiful day. And then Roger and I headed out for some errands and had some other pictures there. So I don't remember what they are now, to tell you the truth. I'll surprise myself when I go to upload them. Usually I open my computer where I've downloaded the photos and look at them to remind myself what the day was. So I guess one of my things of gratitude for this day is it's not about the details so much as the joy that the day brought me. Yeah, the way it made me feel. I admit getting out and about, being outside was a good part of that. But there were other things that were also beautiful today. I hope you are all well, and that it was as good a day for you as it was for me. And if it wasn't a good day, I hope you can reach out to others or just be in the wider world from your place of gratitude for the possibilities of joy in your life.